Hey guys, Greg with GM Russell Photography here. I'm out for the third day in a row at the same location, just trying to get the best sunrise shot that I can. Photographer's Ephemeris has Skyfire, which for the past couple of days has shown a pretty decent possibility of a good sunrise, but we've had a couple storm clouds coming in over the past couple of days that have just made it not really ideal. But I like this location because it's really close to my house. It doesn't take a long time to get out here. And I'm also trying to take COVID as seriously as I can. And the problem we have right now in Michigan is that we are, I think, the highest state in terms of current COVID problems, if not one of the highest, because we have one of those fast spreading variants here now. So, I mean, at the end of the day, this here is not a bad composition. It's going to look probably like crap on this GoPro, but, you know, it's a pretty nice skyline. You know, basically I just want to show that photography is possible with little preparation and even in your own backyard, and that, you know, after a year of not doing photography due to COVID, now that I'm back out here again, I guess I'm just trying to show that you can still do photography while avoiding people and trying to take the pandemic seriously. So, you know, thanks for checking this out, guys. I'm going to probably go over a little bit of the editing that I do with these photos, and I'm imagining I'm going to show some of it at the end of the vlog, you know, what I actually came up with. So, appreciate you guys watching, and until next time, thanks for checking us out. Today I'd like to talk a little bit about the editing process with this photo that I took of a sunrise this morning. A few things I'd like to point out first off, right off the bat, are you can see some very visible dust spots either on the lens or on the sensor. I haven't used this camera or lens in a little while. It's my D750 with the Tamron 24-70. So I'm definitely going to need to clean off the lens and maybe blow out the sensor and see if that resolves it. But these are very easy to clone out, so they won't be a problem to edit. Another thing that I want to point out is in the bottom left of the frame here, you can see a little bit of a fence that got into the frame. And that's also going to be very easy to clone out, and I think it would make the image just look a little bit better to have it gone. Now, I have already edited this image off camera, and this is what I've come up with as the result. So you can see the before and the after. Again, that's the before and the after. Now, I did pull this image into Photoshop later on, and I did clone out this little bit of extra branch down here that just seems to be hovering in the image. But let's talk about what we did so far with Capture One. So we have our heel layer right here, which you can see clones out our fence down here, as well as our dust spots. So that's our heel layer. And then we have two adjustment layers where I did a linear gradient filter. I did one on the bottom to pull up the shadows a little bit, and I did one up top just to pull down a few shadows and add a little bit of contrast, just to really accentuate that there was a storm, and that these are storm clouds that were blocking out the large portion of the sunrise. So when we look at the background of the image, this is as shot, the Kelvin. I did not change the white balance at all. I thought it was pretty good where it was. You can see that I've adjusted my exposure by a half stop. My contrast, brightness, and saturation remain unchanged. I did a global adjustment to the HDR where I turned the highlights all the way down. I brought the shadows up by 10. I brought the whites down by 77, and I brought the blacks down by 23. Now, you don't have to do global adjustments, but in some cases, I find it fine and also easy to do them. But you can do those more focal or area-specific adjustments by using the linear gradient tool, which you can see right here on the top of my menu. And that is, again, what these two adjustment layers were for. I also came in here to check out my color balance, and you can see that when I took my color balance down here, the shadows remain unchanged. The midtones, I took just a little bit off that center dot mark right there, just a little bit towards the more magenta color. And the highlights, I took just a little bit off of that circle towards the more reddish color. And the reason behind that is because when I was there in person this morning, right here along the horizon line, just above the skyline, this was this very vibrant color that you see in front of us right now. And it didn't look the same when I didn't have those adjustments made. So let's take the before and after tool right here. So just look at that. It just adds a little bit more back into that, right? Like it just takes this color and just adds it right back a little bit more into the clouds like it was as I recall seeing it. So here you can kind of see our before and after in one image with our before and after slider. So here's our before and here's our after. Another thing I'd like to point out too is that I've also got right down here this leading line with these taillights, a little bit of a long exposure from the cars driving by. And that was something I was really going for, and I was really happy to have in the image, along with this sun star that we have right here. I shot this at f/22, as you can see below, 2 seconds at ISO 50 with a 32 millimeter. So we have these sun stars coming down, and what I did to really bring it out just a little bit was in Photoshop, I added a 50% gray layer on top, and I did a small amount, a very small amount of dodging, where I just drew a dodge right on top of the rays from the sun star, and I changed the opacity down to, I think it was 5. So it was a very minor effect, but it makes the sun stars stick out just a little bit more. And I really liked it when I added that to the image. I thought it really pulled everything together. So here's my final image today, guys. This is the third day in a row that I've shot this scene, and the sunset, or the sunrise rather, didn't work out any of those days like I'd expected it to, but this is the image that I'm the happiest with because it has a large amount, I think, of dynamic contrast up here in the clouds from the storm. And you have the sun star, and you also have the leading lines from the taillights being caught in that long exposure. And I really like this. So, you know, this is it's an image that I recorded 30 minutes, not even 30 minutes, probably really close. It's within 30 minutes of my house. It was really easy to get out here. And during the pandemic, when I'm trying to avoid people, there was relatively few people here, as opposed to if I'd tried to, say, do a sunset at one of our beach locations here in Michigan with a lighthouse or something. So I think it's a really cool location right now this time of year because the foliage right here hasn't really come back in to block a lot of the scene. So you can still kind of see a really nice composition right here. And for anybody that's in the Michigan area, this is in Grand Rapids, and it's right off of a road called Sunset. Interestingly enough, of course, right? So yeah, guys, that's the before and after, and that's what we came up with today. So if you like it, let me know in the comments. If you would have edited this differently, let me know in the comments. And if you have any suggestions about stuff you'd like to see here in the future, let me know in the comments. And as a new channel, I just want you guys to know too that it really does help out if you subscribe or if you share this. So if you've enjoyed this content at all, please feel free to do so because it does help me a lot as a very, very small creator. Thanks, guys. Until next week.